Seventh attempt to secure a spot for leaving the palace. The crown prince lit an incense stick. If you can endure without crying out for half an hour, until the incense burns out, your name will be on the list for leaving the palace this time. His methods were too varied. I bit my lip until it bled, enduring his favor, praying for the incense to burn out quickly. But at the very moment we were almost there, the crown prince suddenly bit my shoulder, the sharp pain causing me to cry out instinctively. He extinguished the incense. If you fail to achieve it, then you should not be with Qingqing any longer. I just stared at the incense burner in a daze. Lu Qingqing's incense stick was clearly thinner and shorter than mine, and it would burn out in no time. So, from the very beginning, the competition for the chance to leave the palace was unfair. Then I don't want it either. 1. I looked at the 2 incense sticks in the censer, silent. Pei Yan has already ended. He habitually went to carry me to the bath for cleaning. I dodged. He raised an eyebrow. Under the lamplight, those cold, clear eyes were softened with a gentle hue, still carrying the lingering satisfaction of what had just transpired. What, are you angry? Wasn't it agreed before we started? See who between you and Qingqing can hold back from crying out, and that person gets to leave the palace. You asked to come first, and I agreed, so what more could you be unhappy about? My mouth is agape, yet silent. I don't know whether to attribute it to the difference in those 2 incense sticks, or to that last bite he gave me. The wound on my lips was pulled, causing a dull ache. Pei Yan kissed me. All right, Qingqing came out of the palace this time just to hear the storyteller finish that tale. If she doesn't, she'll keep thinking about it, unable to eat or sleep. You can think of it as fulfilling her wish. Next time, I'll let you win. But I left the palace because my mother was seriously ill, and I feared I wouldn't see her one last time. I told Pei Yan 6 times. This time, I didn't want to say it again. I avoided his hand. Struggling to lift her sore and weak body, she put on her clothes, covering the bite marks on her shoulders. Not deep. Yet the pain reached the depths of her heart. Your Highness need not trouble yourself, I shall return and tidy up on my own. Having turned him down twice in a row, Pei Yan's expression darkened. Shen Yujin, even the favored have their limits. You and I are not yet married, you are merely a female official of the Eastern Palace. Poor Qingqing has such a tragic background. She'll be your sister someday. What harm is there in letting her have her way? I lower my gaze. Mask the faint bitterness in their eyes. In truth, I have always understood that as the crown prince, Pei Yan could never have only me for his entire life. So whatever he does with Lu Qingqing, I never ask. As long as I am his wife, I hold the position of mistress of the house, and he keeps me in his heart. That is enough. After all, we have grown up together for 10 years. Pei Yan treats me better than even my own parents do. Back then, I was too young to understand just how noble his status was. I only knew he was handsome and wealthy. So, I'd stretch out my little hands, asking for everything in sight. Priceless celestial silk brocade, rare pearls from the Eastern Sea, imperial grade RU-Kill porcelain. Whatever I wanted, he'd make sure I had it that very day. Father scolded me for being too spoiled and willful. Pei Yan shielded me with his body and defended me. Jin's candid and innocent nature is a rare virtue. Minister Shen need not make her change it. Mother was annoyed that I lacked propriety, bouncing around all day like a wild monkey. Pei Yan, standing nearby, replied with a soft smile. I love jade brocade just as she is. With me by her side, she doesn't need to follow any rules. Pei Yan has truly become my greatest support. No one dares to bully me, whether inside or outside the palace. At the age of 13, I entered the palace as a court lady to foster a relationship. After my term ends, I can get married. His kindness towards me was no longer concealed. Every meal of the day insists on having me join. I didn't want to attend the palace banquet, so he feigned illness and stayed in the Eastern Palace to keep me company, unafraid of being discovered and reported. Even before I left the palace each time, he would hold me close, reluctant to let me go. He would embrace me and sigh. How am I supposed to endure these 2 or 3 days without you? Unbiased, it was also the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. But the incense stick that once symbolized affection has now become an obstacle. 2 years ago, a new face appeared among the female officials in the Eastern Palace. On her first day in office, she accidentally broke the blue and white porcelain cup I had given to Pei Yan. Pei Yan rarely got angry, but this time he was determined to punish her severely. Though I was in a bit of a low mood, I still stepped in to stop Pei Yan. Qingqing didn't mean it, Your Highness. Please spare her this once. Lu Qingqing lived next door to me. I've heard about her. Both parents gone, relying on her own efforts alone, she passed the female official examinations and entered the Eastern Palace. It was truly not easy. Why should she have her path to life cut off over a mere cup? Pei Yan helplessly agreed to my request. His fingertip lightly touched the center of my brow. Since you've already said it, how could I possibly say no? After that incident, Lu Qingqing became much closer to me, and also grew more cautious and careful. Pei Yan remembered that cup, always finding her displeasing, clumsy and lacking any sense of awareness. If she makes another mistake, I'll have to drive her out of the Eastern Palace. She's like a closed gourd, doesn't even say a word when she's hurt. If it were you, you'd have been crying to me long ago. She gives whatever others ask for, what a fool. Gradually, from Pei Yan's impatience, I began to hear a note of heartache. Not long after. Then I stumbled upon the two of them sleeping together. Lu Qingqing knelt down in tears. I'm sorry, Sister Yujin, His Highness had too much to drink and mistook me for you. I really didn't have any improper thoughts. My parents taught me that as the future crown princess, I must have the capacity to be tolerant. But they never taught me what to do when the person I kindly allowed to stay becomes a thorn in my throat. I forced a smile. The words "it's fine" tore an opening in my heart. That night, Pei Yan held me for a long time, yet he couldn't stop the icy wind that had seeped into my soul. What happened between me and Qingqing was an accident. I'll grant her the title of concubine Jing'ai when the time comes, and then set her aside. But you are my wife, the one who will share my bed in life and my grave in death. It will only ever be you. I nodded, feeling that Pei Yan's love for me was enough. Life seemed unchanged. Except that between him and me, there was now Lu Qingqing. Until a month ago, I received a letter from home saying my mother was ill and bedridden. As usual, I went to Pei Yan to ask for the palace exit pass. He frowned slightly. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I've already given the spot to Qingqing. Even though I have a marriage arrangement with Pei Yan, I still need his approval to be on the list for leaving the palace and to depart together. The number of people allowed to leave the palace each time is fixed. No one can cut in line. I arrived late, so it's normal that he gave it to someone else. But when I went to find Pei Yan for the second time, I had already told him about it 3 days in advance. He still gave the spot to Lu Qingqing. She wants to visit those kind-hearted people who helped her before. They made the appointment last month, so I can't let her break her promise. I was furious, but even more than that, I felt wronged. Her matters are important, but are mine not important as well? I was the one who told you first, so why must I yield? This isn't fair. Pei Yan's voice turned cold. I have already sent the imperial physician to the minister's residence. Why must you compete with her and insist on leaving the palace? Being jealous should be done at the right time. Get out. That was the first time Pei Yan ever kicked me out. Staring at the firmly closed door. I suddenly understand. He silently agrees, my temperament is justified and confident. He won't admit it, so I'm just being unreasonable. 3. See clearly that between Pei Yan and me, there is also imperial authority. I softened my attitude, planning to go to him at night to apologize for my defiance during the day. But outside the door, I overheard Lu Qingqing speaking to him. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to leave the palace again today, Your Highness, but if Sister Yujin finds out that I didn't discuss it with you first when she applied to leave the palace for the first time, will she be angry? Pei Yan spoke lightly, no need to pay any mind. That temperament of hers needs to be properly tempered, lest she become the crown princess in the future and still act so willful. Leaving the palace whenever she pleases, as if the Eastern Palace were under her command. So the first time I went to find Pei Yan, it wasn't that I arrived too late. He was the one who wanted to give the spot to Lu Qingqing, and he used that as a pretense to deceive me. His change was silent and unnoticed. The wound in my heart was torn open a little wider. I was in so much pain that I didn't want to pay any more attention to Pei Yan. I can't understand how the pillar I've leaned on since childhood has become someone else's. Yet the new letter from home says mother's illness is getting worse. I had to ask Pei Yan for the palace pass again. He was burning incense at the time, he said casually. Then let's use incense as the game. Hold back from crying out for half an hour, last until the incense burns out, then whoever manages it wins. Otherwise, you'll accuse me of being unfair again. I was stunned. I couldn't explain where that resistance in my heart came from. I could only agree. Every time, Lu Qingqing would start first, and I would wait outside the door. The room was unusually quiet. It seemed to end quickly. But when it was my turn, I realized how long and agonizing each breath could be. Yet, each time, my incense was just a fraction short of burning out, losing to Lu Qingqing. Pei Yan chuckled softly by my ear. Yujin is still too sensitive. I tried my best to hold it in, forcing myself to let my thoughts run wild, secretly pinching myself. I even despised my own body, considering it more worthless than a courtesan's. Only now do I realize. These two incense sticks of mine and Lu Qingqing's are not at all the same. My incense must burn for a full half hour. Her incense can burn out in a single moment. With a time difference twice as long, how can I win? How can I pull back Pei Yan's heart, which has strayed so far I can no longer see it? From the very beginning, the competition for the chance to leave the palace was unfair. Then I won't argue anymore. I don't want Pei Yan anymore either. My eyes ached unbearably, and the wound in my heart had grown so large it could never heal. I raised my hand to close the door, using the motion to block the falling tears. Leaving Pei Yan's bedchamber, I went straight to Sinning Palace. I knelt down on the ground. Please forgive this humble subject for disturbing your highness so late at night. My mother has been gravely ill for many days and I am deeply worried. I wish to end my 5-year term as a palace maid early and leave the palace immediately. The Empress Dowager's hand paused while stirring the tea, producing a crisp sound. You no longer wish to marry the Crown Prince. Back when I first entered the palace, the Empress Dowager had promised that once my term as a lady-in-waiting ended, she would petition for a marriage between Pei Yan and me. Now that I am leaving, it simply means I no longer want this marriage. I lowered my head. Yes, the Crown Prince is brilliant and virtuous, and his heart already belongs to another. I know my own unworthiness and do not wish to force anything. I only wish to return home to care for my mother. But you have lived and eaten with him for 4 long years. Your reputation is already ruined. If you do not marry him, the path ahead. I have heard that the Empress Dowager wishes to reside long-term at a Buddhist temple in the outskirts of the capital, to live a life of vegetarianism and prayer, offering blessings for the nation. After I have settled my family affairs, I am willing to serve the Empress Dowager, to keep the company of the ancient Buddha and the dim lamp from then on. No matter whom I marry, I must accept 3 wives and 4 concubines, and my husband's favoritism. I cannot change it. It would be better to never marry again and become the Empress Dowager's female official. Seeing that my mind was made up, the Empress Dowager sighed. Enough, I do not wish to create a pair of resentful lovers. Tomorrow night, you shall leave the palace with the others and in 7 days, accompany me to the outskirts of the capital. 4. The next day, Lu Qingqing packed her belongings, preparing to leave the palace that evening. Pei Yan instructed me. Qingqing, the task of tidying up the study is yours today. I obediently accepted. He was taken aback. Why aren't you making a fuss today? In the past, every time Lu Qingqing obtained a spot to leave the palace, I had to take over her tasks for her. I have a grudge in my heart, and every time I would petulantly say a few angry words to Pei Yan, hoping he would comfort me. But what use is it? Said, but not listened to. I lowered my eyes, addressing the matter at hand. Organizing the study has always been the duty of a palace attendant. You've become more sensible than before. Pei Yan held me back, resting his chin atop my hair. There's no need to keep your distance from me in private. Yujin, I like the way you break the rules. His hand slipped inside my clothes. I had the intention to draw a clear line with him, so I turned sideways and broke free from Pei Yan's embrace. I still haven't recovered from yesterday. I can't attend to your highness today. She had turned him down 3 times. Pei Yan frowned. Are you still sulking all this time just because I didn't agree to let you leave the palace? I stared at the tips of my shoes without saying a word. A moment passed. The sleeve he flung off brushed against the hem of my skirt. Then do as you please. Pei Yan was angry. He didn't even summon me for the midday meal. His usual tactic. He left me hanging, making me realize my mistake, and then I would go to him to apologize. But it was clearly him who was unfair first. I no longer blamed myself. Packing up my things. Lu Qingqing passed by my doorway and stopped. Jade Bricade's sister, you're leaving the palace. She examined my luggage, lost in thought, and said nothing more. Evening. The hour to leave the palace was drawing near. Pei Yan and Lu Qingqing arrived together. Gazing at me coldly and heavily, with a hint of disappointment. Why did you steal Qingqing's palace exit token? I did not do as you wished, so you resort to such actions? My heart skipped a beat. I didn't. Search. Pei Yan uttered a single word, cutting me off. The people he brought with him began searching everywhere. Crash, bang, clatter. The porcelain was accidentally shattered, the bedding was in disarray, and the small objects from the luggage had tumbled to the ground, broken. Be careful, you all. I panicked and rushed to stop them. Those were all things Pei Yan had once given to me. I had wanted to take it away as a keepsake. But the palace attendants blocked me, not allowing me to get close. I instinctively looked toward Pei Yan. Yet he didn't even glance my way, indifferently watching as everything was destroyed. Only I was the one who cherished it. Suddenly, I lost all strength. Forget it, I don't want any of it anymore. The palace attendants searched but found nothing. Pei Yan's gaze finally returned to me as he commanded. Remove your clothes for inspection. I abruptly raised my head, unable to believe he was asking me to undress in front of everyone. Lu Qingqing was also stunned. Your Highness, with so many people present, this might be inappropriate. I was merely speculating. Not letting her learn her lesson, who knows what mistakes she might make in the future. Pei Yan's voice was icy cold. Do not make this prince repeat himself a second time. 10 years of friendship, and in the end, I couldn't even earn a shred of trust. I smiled mockingly. He took out the plaque from his chest. Pei Yan's expression suddenly changed. 5. How do you have the plaque from my imperial grandmother's palace? Pei Yan furrowed his brows and demanded. I calmly explained, Her Majesty the Empress Dowager knew I wished to leave the palace, so she granted me the token last night. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Your Highness, but this is not the peace you were looking for. His eyes darkened, seemingly displeased with the tone of my words. A palace attendant rushed in. In my hands, unmistakably, was Lu Qingqing's palace exit token. The item Miss Lu asked us to find has been located. You left it in the kitchen. Lu Qingqing looked embarrassed. I'm sorry, Sister Yujin. I thought my token was stolen by you, and I ended up alarming His Highness. Everyone out. Pei Yan's voice was icy as he issued the command. He dismissed everyone and kept his gaze fixed on me. I've already agreed that the next time you leave the palace for the incense ceremony, I'll let you in. Why do you still go to the Empress Dowager? What did you say to the Empress Dowager? Perhaps still clinging to a sliver of hope, I asked him. If I said I would stay with the Empress Dowager and never return to the capital, would your Highness believe me? He rubbed his temples. Stop making trouble. The Empress Dowager is old. Do you not think it unfilial to cause a scene in front of her like this? It's just going out of the palace. What on earth are you getting sulky about? Suddenly I lost the desire to continue the conversation. To this day, he still believes it's just a matter of leaving the palace. Bend down. I bowed respectfully. Your Highness need not worry, Yujin will never cause trouble for you again. After speaking, I turned and walked away. Pei Yan seemed to want to grab me. Reach out a hand. Yet it came up empty. With the Empress Dowager's token, I made my way out of the palace without a hitch. Arrived home. Finally, I saw my seriously ill mother. Father is taking care of her. A month ago, my mother caught a cold, and it lingered without healing. Several doctors said she might not make it through. But now, look at mother. Although lying in bed, her complexion was rosy. Has mother's illness gotten better? Not long ago, His Highness sent a royal physician over, who prescribed a few doses of medicine. Your mother's health has improved significantly since then. I just forgot to mention it to you earlier. I was stunned. I never expected that Pei Yan's mention of calling a physician wasn't just a lie to deceive me. But then, it doesn't matter anymore. I heard my father ask me, how many days can you stay at home this time? Don't stay too long, the Crown Prince will miss you. I lowered my eyes. 6 days. In 6 days, I will accompany the Empress Dowager to the outskirts of the capital and will not return to the Eastern Palace. I told my parents about breaking off the engagement. Father's face flushed with anger. This is utter nonsense. The Crown Prince has been so good to you. How can you still be unsatisfied? When will you ever change your willful ways? Only my mother, grasping my hand, asked me, have you been wronged? At those words, I could no longer hold back my tears. Throwing herself into her mother's embrace, she cried. She intermittently explained the obstacles to leaving the palace. Her father angrily slammed the table this time. They're going too far. It's simply humiliating. You are his betrothed wife. How is this any different from slapping you in the face? Right. It's humiliation. No wonder, when Pei Yan first mentioned using incense as a ploy, I was so resistant. If he truly cared, how could he disregard my dignity and look down on me? Learning the whole story, my father no longer scolded me and changed the subject. It's good to follow the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager holds high status and great power. Even if you just serve as a lady-in-waiting by her side, no one will look down on you. I nodded without saying anything more. In the evening, I slept with my mother. During the day, I took over from my father, taking care of my mother. There were too many trivial matters and I didn't think of Pei Yan very often. I don't know if it was because I had returned home. Mother's illness recovered even faster. That day, she took me out, wanting to buy new clothes for my trip to the outskirts of the capital. We had just selected a piece of fabric. A familiar voice sounded from behind. 6. Sister Yujin? How coincidental. His Highness is accompanying me to buy winter cotton clothes for the beggars. I didn't expect to run into you here. Lu Qingqing explained the chance encounter. Standing beside Pei Yan. Her pink skirt matched his purple robe quite well. I averted my gaze, not wanting to engage in conversation. But Pei Yan pressed his hand on the fabric my mother and I had chosen. Not bad at all. Perfect, Ching Ching, it's about time you got some new clothes. This fabric suits you well. Mother, holding back her anger, said, Your Highness, we should be reasonable about everything. Clearly, we chose it first. All right, Mother, I stopped her. If His Highness desires it, let him have it. He never cared for the principle of first come, first served. Arguing with him was nothing more than a futile effort. Bowing his head, he said, Please forgive me, Your Highness. My mother's health has not yet fully recovered, and she has offended you. Pei Yan's knuckles turned slightly pale. Perhaps he was angered by my mother's words. I hurriedly led my mother out of the shop, fearing that he might punish her. Yet I heard a voice from behind, gentle as never before. Ching Ching, go and see if there are any fabrics you like. Whatever you want today, I'll buy it for you. Mother also heard these words, her heart aching as she tightly grasped my hand, filled with indignation. It's only been a few days and he's already changed his affection to someone else. Could it be that everything he did for you before was just an act? That year when you made a mistake and offended the emperor, he knelt for 2 days and 1 night, pleading for mercy on your behalf. Was that not real? I remember that year as well. Upon first entering the palace as a female official, Pei Yan favored me, and I became a bit spoiled. Boldly, I urged Pei Yan to skip the palace banquet and stay with me at the Eastern Palace to fly kites. Later, when the emperor learned of this, he was furious and ordered me to be punished with 30 strokes of the cane. Not to mention 30, even a single stroke would have left me bruised and bleeding. Pei Yan immediately knelt at the entrance of the imperial study, pleading with the emperor for mercy, asking him to consider my youth and show leniency. Unfortunately, it rained during the night. He fell ill the very next day. I took care of him while crying with guilt. Pei Yan smiled as he wiped away my tears. What's there to cry about? I've said it before with me here, Yujin doesn't need to follow any rules. You can be exactly the person you want to be. But those who once cherished me have now become utterly unrecognizable. I smiled lightly without responding to Mother. After all, there are only 2 days left before Pei Yan and I will never see each other again. Whether genuine or feigned, it no longer matters. 7. Watching Shen Yujin walk away without a backward glance, Pei Yan felt even more stifled in his heart. He had truly spoiled her. She's been throwing tantrums all this time. But a wedding gift must be chosen with care. Her term as a lady-in-waiting is about to end, she can marry now. It's just that Shen Yujin's temperament is truly a headache. Even before becoming the crown princess, she couldn't stand Lu Qingqing. The imperial physician has already stated that Lady Shen's condition is not serious, and he has already reminded her once. But she wouldn't listen and even used this matter as an excuse to argue with Lu Qingqing. To prevent her from being caught in the future for being jealous, he used Lu Qingqing to temper her disposition. Thinking she could learn to be restrained and bow her head. Looking back now, she still seems as spoiled as ever. When she returns to the palace this time, I'll have the nanny teach her some manners. Pei Yan thought to himself. Lu Qingqing walked over, holding a jade hairpin, and said, Sister Yujin would look lovely wearing this. It truly suits her well. It was worth calling Lu Qingqing out for advice. A sense of emotion welled up in his heart. If only she could be as magnanimous and sensible as you. Miss Yujin is also very good, but she only dares to act out because she knows your highness loves her. However, Lu Qingqing said tactfully. She has been in a bad mood lately. Your highness should be patient and coax her a bit, lest Miss Yujin gets so angry she never returns. Pei Yan didn't take it to heart. Shen Yujin had grown up with him and had long been his person. Where could she go without him, and whom could she marry? He was determined to temper Shen Yujin's temper. He passed by the minister's residence but did not enter. Yet upon returning to the Eastern Palace, he couldn't help but think of her. He had grown accustomed to seeing Shen Yujin at any moment. Suddenly not seeing her, his heart felt empty and desolate. He endured until the 3rd day. Those who had left the palace to visit family had all returned by now. Only Shen Yujin was nowhere to be seen. Pei Yan felt a sudden, inexplicable panic. Just as he was about to send someone to inquire at the Ministry of Personnel, he suddenly overheard a conversation among a few palace attendants. What is Miss Shen thinking? She's giving up the chance to be the crown princess and choosing instead to accompany the Empress Dowager in chanting sutras and praying for blessings. Could it be she's had a falling out with the crown prince? I'm not so sure. I've heard that the maids and female officials the Empress Dowager took with her this time are all destined to never marry. Even if Miss Shen enjoys the favor of the crown prince, she would not dare jest with the Empress Dowager about such a matter. Pei Yan was stunned. The Miss Shen you're talking about, who is she? Several palace attendants promptly bowed in reverence. In response to your highness, it was the lady-in-waiting from your palace, Shen Yujin. His heart tightened. For the first time, he disregarded etiquette and dignity, running towards the palace gate. The Empress Dowager's procession had already departed. Through the swaying gauze curtain, Pei Yin caught sight of Shen Yujin inside the carriage and called out loudly, "Jade brocade." Shen Yujin. Yet the person in the carriage never once glanced aside. As if I hadn't heard at all. Why did she just leave him like that? 8. Actually, I did hear Pei Yan's voice. I just didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore, so I pretended not to hear. The days at the temple in the outskirts of Beijing were harder than I had imagined. I am not qualified to serve by the Empress Dowager's side, so I can only wait outside. The wind was strong at the mountain peak, the cold breeze stinging my face. Back in the room at night, there was no hot water available either. But it has the advantage of being quiet. Staying here, there's no need to think about anything. Every day, listening to the chanting, and then remembering Pei Yan, no longer feels like an empty, painful heart. Quite the opposite. An unprecedented sense of peace and calm. Until the 10th day. Pei Yan appeared at the gate of the Buddhist temple. After just a few days apart, he seemed to have changed. He was no longer the radiant, clear-skied figure I remembered from my memory. It seemed there wasn't much difference between him and an ordinary man. In the howling wind, his voice was hoarse and somewhat indistinct. Why did you come to the outskirts of the capital with the Empress Dowager without telling me? Did you even ask for my opinion? That's an interesting question he's asking. I neither married him, nor am I a palace maid of the Eastern Palace. I am a free person. Where I want to go is my choice. What does it have to do with him? I spoke my mind. Pei Yin was left speechless. Your Highness, please leave. A monastery is a place of quiet cultivation, it should not be disturbed. He raised his hand, stopping me from closing the door. He let out a sigh. His attitude softened. All right, Yujin, pack your things and come back with me. I have already conceded, there is no need for you to keep making a fuss. The 5-year period has come to an end. Once we return, I will ask His Majesty for an imperial decree to grant our marriage. I spoke softly, Your Highness misunderstands. I will not marry you, not in this lifetime. Pei Yin was stunned. But before, didn't you want to marry me more than anything? Yes, I used to want to marry Pei Yin so much that I would talk about it in my sleep. He even teased me for being so eager to marry. But things were different back then, and now's now. People change. Pei Yin habitually furrowed his brow, just because of Lu Qingqing. He still believed that the reason we had reached this point was because Lu Qingqing had come between us. But it was clearly his bias, his unfairness, and his lack of trust that made me see through this relationship. No more words are needed. I moved his hand away and closed the temple gate. Turning to leave. Suddenly, I saw the Empress Dowager standing under the corridor. Bowing in reverence. She did not ask me to rise. The Crown Prince is truly devoted to you. I have never seen him try to comfort someone like this before. Do you truly have no regrets? I shook my head. The Crown Prince and I are ultimately not a good match. Rather than entangling with each other for a lifetime, it's better to end it with a short pain. It's not that I haven't tried to hold on. But I gave him 7 chances. Every time ends in disappointment. Why should I force it again? The Empress Dowager smiled. She is one who dares to love and to hate, much like I was in my youth. From today onward, you shall serve by my side. 9. I am meticulous and skilled at reading people's expressions. I have won the Empress Dowager's favor. Gradually, my status has changed. Everyone treats me with the utmost respect. I need not consider anyone else's opinion, I only have to bow my head to the Empress Dowager alone. I had thought that after our last conversation was made clear, Pei Yin would not come again and would focus properly on being the Crown Prince. Who could have expected that he would start sending people to deliver gifts every day? They were all the items he had once coldly watched the palace servants ruin back in the Eastern Palace. I don't know how he managed to repair it. Each item came with a handwritten note from him. Yujin, I remember you loved this jade scepter. When we were young and didn't understand its value, you even used it as a footstool, and your mother scolded you so severely that you never dared to touch it again. Do you remember this white porcelain cup? It was the birthday gift I made for you with my own hands during our first year in the Eastern Palace. You said you would treasure it as a precious keepsake for life. Please don't be angry with me anymore, okay? It was my fault. Let's go back to the capital. I wanted to request an imperial decree for our marriage, but my father said you belong to the Empress Dowager, and I need her consent. However, she won't agree. If you're willing, I can send Lu Qingqing away and spend my whole life with you, just the 2 of us. Such a heavy promise, I cannot bear it, nor dare I believe it. They didn't accept those things, nor did they reply. It was unexpected. Pei Yan actually came again. This time, I also brought Lu Qingqing. Perhaps angry at my lack of response, his attitude toward me had cooled somewhat. I've come to stay with the Empress Dowager for a few days. I'll trouble Minister Shen to arrange accommodations. I couldn't quite figure out his intentions. But the Empress Dowager said nothing. Nor did I ask. Everything was arranged properly. During the evening meal, Pei Yan brought Lu Qingqing to my quarters. I've heard the mushroom soup here is quite good. Qingqing, you should try some too. Drink slowly, be careful not to burn yourself. He gently fed Lu Qingqing. If it weren't for Lu Qingqing's flustered expression, it would have looked like a loving gesture. I didn't say it out loud. I got up and went to the room to eat. The next day, I had to go serve the Empress Dowager. I waited in the courtyard for the Empress Dowager to finish reciting scriptures. Pei Yan led Lu Qingqing past. He stopped not far from me. He took off his cloak and draped it over Lu Qingqing. It's cold today, don't get chilled. You're pregnant now, it's different. My eyelashes quivered. This is a good thing. Head bowed, unmoved. Suddenly, the familiar scent of cedarwood drifted in. Pei Yan grabbed my hand, his eyes deep and intense. I heard she's pregnant, don't you have anything to say about it? Then, should I ask the monks to pray for her? He choked on his words. In his gaze toward me, there was a hint of annoyance. He fiercely shook off my hand and strode away. Anger surged for no apparent reason. Left behind by him, Lu Qingqing sighed softly. Sister Yujin, can't you see? His Highness is trying to make you jealous. He wants you to get upset with him like you used to have that little quarrel. I have never been pregnant, and your Highness has never truly been kind to me. During the days you were away from the Eastern Palace, he couldn't sleep or eat well, tirelessly repairing those items, hoping you would forgive him. There is no grudge between me and Lu Qingqing. On the contrary, I still pity her circumstances and admire her perseverance in passing the palace examination without any support. She asked softly. But what does that have to do with me? Lu Qingqing choked up, seemingly taken aback by my callousness. After hesitating for a few breaths, she finally told me about Pei Yan's thoughts. Going through all the trouble to reject my request to leave the palace 7 times is nothing more than an attempt to temper my disposition. I was taken aback for a moment, then laughed upon hearing it. If the person you love treated you this way just to make you more sensible and obedient, how would you feel? Lu Qingqing pondered for a while. No longer speaking up for Pei Yan. 10. Lu Qingqing understands her position, she dares not point out Pei Yan's mistakes directly. Pei Yan is also unaware of them. He treats me with a cold face all day, as if I owe him money. Until this day. The Venerable Jingkong from the Buddhist temple came to bring me ointment for treating chilblains. When I first arrived at the temple, I had no access to hot water, and my hands were badly frostbitten. Little did I expect that Jingkong would take notice, as I held the ointment and thanked him. Suddenly pulled away. Pei Yan held me tightly, perhaps too angry, speaking without thinking. You insisted on coming to the outskirts of the capital with the Empress Dowager, refusing to return to the Eastern Palace and not wanting to marry me. Is it all because you've taken a fancy to this monk? Shen Yujin, how come I never noticed before that you're so fickle? Being the crown princess isn't enough for you, so a monk will do. Is he really that much better than me, to make you so reluctant to leave this temple? He blurted it out in one breath, showing neither respect for the master nor regard for me. I was trembling all over with anger. Jingkong also turned cold-faced. Please mind your words and actions, your highness. My relationship with Lord Shen is pure and innocent, not the kind you imagine. Shut up. What does it have to do with you that I'm talking to her? Pei Yan threw a punch at Jingkong. He struck with such force that Jingkong fell to the ground. I hurriedly helped Jingkong up and pushed away Pei Yan, who was still trying to fight. What are you making such a fuss about? This is a Buddhist temple, not your Eastern Palace. Pei Yan, if you keep acting recklessly, I will report everything truthfully to Her Majesty the Empress Dowager. I have never called him by his name. Now with a single call, Pei Yan stared at me in a daze, his face full of hurt. You would actually treat me like this just to protect him. I want to see if I kill him today, who would dare utter a single word of dissent. Enough. A stern voice interrupted Pei Yan's outburst. Only upon seeing the Empress Dowager appear did he manage to regain his composure. He injured the monk and spoke disrespectfully. Pei Yan was punished by the Empress Dowager to kneel in the courtyard. You are not allowed to get up until the incense stick has completely burned down. The palace attendant inserted the incense stick. He seemed oblivious to the cold. He even shouted, Please, Imperial Grandmother, marry Shen Yujin to Pei Yan. She is destined to be my wife. Inside the room, Listening to his voice, my head ached unbearably. In the end, all of this has started because of me. Somewhat anxious about whether the Empress Dowager would grant his wish and agree to this marriage. The Empress Dowager pushed forward a box. It seems the time was still too short for him to take it seriously. Punish him severely, so he'll remember this lesson well. Seeing the contents of the box, I already knew what to do. Walk out. In front of Pei Yan. Insert that thick, long incense stick in front of the original thin, short one. A déjà vu scene. Pei Yan suddenly looked up at me. His face was completely drained of color. 11. Pei Yan was ill. Like the year he knelt to plead for me, caught a chill, and lay in bed with a high fever that wouldn't break. I went to see him. I changed the cloth on his forehead and fed him the medicinal soup. At night. Pei Yan woke up groggily. Seeing me sitting by his bedside, he froze momentarily. Perhaps thinking it was an illusion, he rubbed his eyes. His voice was hoarse as he spoke. I thought you never wanted to have anything to do with me again for the rest of your life. Then, does Eugen forgive me? Hope flickered in his eyes. I replied calmly, this is the Empress Dowager's command. Also, let me convey to your highness, once you've recovered your health, it would be best to return to the capital as soon as possible. Pei Yan stiffened. The fallen hand carefully hooked onto my pinky finger. I'm sorry. I once thought that you suddenly changed like this because you were angry that I gave the chance to leave the palace to Lu Qingqing instead of you, and that you were just throwing a tantrum with me. I thought that if I left you to stew for a few days, you would realize your mistake as before and come to apologize to me. Even if you were still angry, if I coaxed you a little, you would return to my side. Now, I finally understand what you were angry about. Those 2 incense sticks. I did harbor selfish intentions. I was afraid that if you won, you would leave the palace. To keep teaching you how to yield, I had someone specially prepare different incense. But I forgot this is what you called unfairness. Pei Yan gradually took my hand, looking at me. I promise you, I will never be like this again. Just be yourself. No matter what mistakes you make, I will take the blame for you. Can you? No, I interrupted him, enunciating each word clearly. Everything that happened in the past, it's all over now. I am quite content with my life now, and I beseech your highness to let go of the past as soon as possible. Having said that, I rose to leave. He held on to the tips of my fingers, unwilling to let go. Even if I were to take Lu Qingqing as my crown princess, would you still not care? I let out a hum. If your highness would like to hear it, I could also wish the 2 of you to grow old together and have children soon. Pei Yan's hand dropped weakly. Before leaving, I glanced over and saw a large wet patch on his pillow. I withdrew my gaze. I closed the door. 12. I didn't go to Pei Yan again, leaving Lu Qingqing to take care of him. Not long after, Pei Yan recovered his health and returned to the Eastern Palace. He never came back to the Buddhist temple, nor did he send anything through others again. I devoted myself to serving the Empress Dowager. Later, I became the most capable female official by her side. Everyone respects me, hoping I can put in a good word for them in front of the Empress Dowager. I can freely enter and exit Buddhist temples and the imperial palace without having to request permission passes. Even the retired emperor smiles and chats with me whenever we meet. Because of me, my father has also enjoyed smooth sailing in the imperial court. Both he and my mother were very grateful that they did not interfere with my choice back then, allowing me to also protect the family. Yet another winter has passed. While playing chess with the Empress Dowager, she suddenly spoke up. The emperor selected 12 new consorts this year, but did not appoint an empress. Tell me, who is he waiting for? Yes, Pei Yan has ascended the throne. In the 3 years since he took power, his once quiet harem gradually grew lively, and even Lu Qingqing has become the virtuous consort. Only the position of empress remains vacant. Despite the repeated memorials from the officials and the endless speculations among the common people, Pei Yan simply refuses to appoint an empress. I replied with a smile, I dare not presume to discuss your majesty's heart, but I know that I will be by your side for the rest of my life. After all, the matter of affection cannot compare to the comfort that power brings me now.